This is Powering the Future, a podcast series brought to you by Smart Grid Forums. One planet, one power grid.
Hello, everyone. Today we're exploring what real leadership looks like in the race to transform our power grid. At Smart Grid Technical Forum, or SGT25, it became clear that this transformation is no longer just about technology. It's about vision, collaboration, and scaling up smart. Now, joining me today are two leaders deeply involved in driving this change, Dr. Mihai Paun, President of the Commission for Investment and Energy Security and member of the Supervisory Board at Transelectrica, and Torsten Roeglin, Managing Director at Stadtwerke Frankfurt. So welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today. So today's conversation is focused on leadership and the changing role of leadership in the power grid in the energy transition. We had the pleasure of having your contributions, both of you, at SGT25 in The Hague recently during the infrastructure investment briefing. Thank you so much for your insights there. So let's start at the top, really. How would you say leaders need to drive the energy transition going forward? We're at a pivotal point at the moment. What would you say are some of the changes that need to be made to leadership in the power grid to really drive pace?
Thank you very much for the invitation. I think leadership's role is essential in the current accelerating electricity grid transformation. And here I refer to both high voltage electricity grid and distribution electricity grid. I recall the information exchange facilitated by the Smart Grid Technical Forum 2025 in Den Haag, which has visibly contributed to shaping this leadership role. I think you are very right to select this topic for discussion as a key topic for future grid developments in Europe and in the world. In my views, and allow me to address the high voltage grid transformation in this particular case, because I represent the Romanian transmission system operators Transelectrica in this discussion, requires visionary leadership that bridges, in my views, innovation as well as policy, and ultimately the execution, the implementation of the innovative ideas and projects. Currently at Transelectrica, we see leadership as the ability to translate bold ideas into national and regional priorities, while focusing and ensuring system reliability. And as you, Mandana, as a leading person of the Smart Grid 25 event, and Torsten also participating together with other leaders in this, I would say, very, very successful event, confirmed that digitalization, storage, and new technologies without leadership are not progressing. And it was also confirmation that those elements, important elements, are no longer optional.
Mm-hmm.
They are fundamental to the future grid development. And here I come back again to both low voltage, medium voltage, and high voltage grid. Mm-hmm. Our leadership is focused on moving from pilot to portfolio.
Yes. Yeah.
I speak about the approach in Transelectrica, deploying scalable innovation across the high voltage system. Mm-hmm. But we are in very good communication and cooperation with all distribution system operators acting in Romania. And we are also in communication and cooperation as much as we can with the European utilities in a framework of Brussels community associations like Eurelectric, EU DSO, and NSOE. Mm-hmm. Another confirmation I recall from Smart Grid event concerns the cross-border and cross-sector collaboration. You know that the transmission system operators are cooperating in a framework of European Network of Transmission System Operators for Electricity. And we speak here about cross-border and also cross-sector collaboration. Big power utilities in Europe recognize that this collaboration must be encouraged, enhanced, and accelerated in order to achieve common national, I would say regional, and ultimately European energy objectives. Yes, I think to start the discussion, I also recall some other arguments supporting the confirmation on the occasion of your our successful event, Smart Grid Technical Forum 25. The energy transition is inherently cross-border. So while speaking about leadership, all our leaders should keep this in mind, that the energy transition is cross-border, as electrons don't stop at borders, and neither should our cooperation, current and future cooperation. We at Transelectrica actively work with the NSOE members, TSOs in the region and beyond. We are now just ahead of a regional meeting with the Bulgarian TSO and Hungarian TSO to discuss and to build together a resilient and flexible interconnected high voltage electricity grid in our areas. And to conclude this preliminary intervention, I would say that at the same time, collaboration with academia and industry is critical to foster cross-sector innovation and ensure a just and inclusive transition, while developing the leadership role in utilities.
Thank you so much for those insights, Mihai. Yes, absolutely. Collaboration on every level. And as you say, cross-border at this particular time is an urgent matter. At the heart of it all, though, you mentioned innovation, and that's a great theme for the industry right now. Torsten, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on how leaders can accelerate innovation in the grid sector, which has traditionally been thought to be conservative and cautious. What are some of the work that you're doing in your organization to drive innovation?
First, it was really great to be in The Hague and participating the conference. And also many thanks to Mihai for his opening statement. And let me repeat two topics or two phrases he said. One is we need to come from pilots to portfolio, which is definitely true. When I always listening to experts, to technical experts in particular, in an engineering-dominated community, then the experts can present perfect solution for each and everything. And all is well developed, and pilots were tested, and so on and so forth. So from pilots to portfolio, that's definitely one important thing. The second is cross-border cooperation, collaboration, which is mandatory. And cross-border does not mean only cross-border cross national borders. It also means between voltage levels. When we talk about a border in the electricity grid, one is the high voltage border. And we could also come from the other way to talk about the DSO landscape, and they also have borders. So we need to talk cross borders. Cross-border could also mean to have the entire value chain in mind. So from the client to with grid, with generation, with metering, and so on and so forth. And that was the second, or a very interesting thing also in The Hague, when people were talking about data protection, innovation, about metering, about transformers, about components and systems. So the most interesting thing was when they were talking about the system. And that is also a change in the role of leadership. When you talk about leaders in the energy sectors in the past, they were very often very specialized in a certain technical area. So they were perfect experts in generation. And in generation, they were split into nuclear, conventional, hydro, renewable, and other areas. Then there's another arena, the grid guys, or the sales guys, or the whatever people can do in that sector. So the important change is that, as Mihai said, from pilot to portfolio, people needs to come to a more holistic view on the energy sector. And this holistic view is necessary for technical reason, is also definitely for strategic reason. When we talk about the energy sector, we do not talk only about security of supply or production volumes. So we also talk about decarbonization, about across many sectors in the economy. So holistic view is definitely needed. And there's a second driver. This driver is demography. In the past we had sometimes difficulties to find specialists in the market, but nowadays the markets are empty, so there are just a few specialists available. Instead of them, we have a lot of innovation in the market. So we have less people, more technology. So managers, leaders needs to be aware of that fact, and they have to integrate this into strategic development, strategic planning, and into day-to-day operation. So that's in brief. And you can see I'm not the grid expert, I'm more the energy economist, and I try to have in mind the entire value chain.
Maybe building up on what you just mentioned, Torsten, related to the keywords leadership, innovation, technology. I would say that in relation to the pilot of digital portfolio in our TSO in Romania is now paving the way for large-scale deployment of digital substations, dynamic line rating, digital twin integration, and asset management, which is very much linked to your field of expertise. So scaling up by transitioning from successful pilot projects to full-scale grid solutions, it's a priority for our managers, for our leaders. It is important to know when a pilot is ready for scale and ensuring the internal capacity, regulatory support, of course, it's needed, and we need a transparent and predictable regulatory framework. And investment mechanisms are also aligned. But the biggest challenge isn't always the technology. It's integration into complex systems with legacy constraints. And yes, in relation to balancing innovation, cutting-edge innovation with the need for grid reliability and security of supply, innovation must, in our views, compromise with the core mission of both transmission system operators, distribution system operators, and other utilities. The system stability and security of supply, it's the ultimate objective. And we design, at least in the framework of our 10 years network development plan, which is a huge action at European level, coordinated by NSOE. We design innovation with reliability in mind, while leveraging predictive maintenance, real-time monitoring, for example, as well as adaptive protection systems. And in regions like ours, innovation must serve both grid modernization as well as critical national and regional resilience objectives.
Thank you. Thank you both. One of the questions I hear often from the technical teams is what they need to do better in order to support decision making at the top to migrate projects from pilots to large-scale deployment. They are often very keen to move towards large-scale deployment, and they would like to know how they can influence and support decision-making better so that this can happen at a faster pace. So what would be your advice for the technical teams in terms of the information and the support you need to make the decision to move to large scale?
Maybe my answer is a bit surprising to you. The technical experts are experts. Yes, that's great. They have their own language, and that is the key thing. I think. Yesterday and the day before, I had interviews with some applicants for a job in my company, and they came from the IT area, and it was a position in consulting in energy economics, and the people were perfectly well qualified at first glance, but then when they came to the interview, they talked about their experience, their education, their skills in the IT language. So, and my impression was, okay, great. I suppose you are an expert in your area, but I do not understand your language. And the same with the technical people very often. They have the perfect solution for real-time optimization or for optimization of maintenance programs. But then they describe their product in a way that I, as a manager, could believe, yeah, maybe it works. I don't know whether it fits with my budget. I do not know exactly whether these people could install these devices in the field. Maybe they should try it in the laboratory first. So, but that's maybe a waste of time and budget because the technical solutions are more mature than we see at first glance because we do not understand the language. So that is one thing. The second is the technical people should have in mind that all technology needs to must be somehow affordable. It must fit with the budget. Here the engineering people should be a bit more brave. Mm-hmm. More brave, more bold, but the people from the management side, they definitely should challenge the technical people more intense, so that they can say, no, I don't need a pilot. I don't need a pilot. I want to have a full-scale project.
Okay.
Are you committed to deliver? Instead of, are you committed to initiate a pilot? And then after 5 years, we can talk about first experiences, and then maybe there's a second pilot needed. And after 10 years, we can talk about experience from 2 pilots before we talk about large scale. So that definitely we need to change.
Okay, so as a leader, you're keen to see a business case that can go straight to large scale deployment,
yep,
but there are certain criteria that you think the technical team need to be bolder about. So
definitely.
What sort of training do you think the technical teams might need, or upskilling, or new ways of thinking or mindset to help them bridge that gap and to help you make quicker decisions?
Maybe it's a better understanding of marketing of their products. So it was in The Hague impressive. When the technical people talk to technical people, there was full understanding. Because they are technical people. When the technical people come to controllers, they need to justify whether the technical solution fits perfectly well in order to improve something, to improve a certain KPI, to improve performance of a grid, to improve performance of the business. So, and that's a role of marketing. Maybe it's unusual for technical people or for engineers or physicians, mathematicians to talk about or to think about marketing, but marketing is necessary. And the second is what I would a little advice from my side. It is also about product development. It is not just a technical solution, it's a product in the end. So, and a product needs to be sold to people. Okay, you can convince engineers with your engineer language to buy some high sophisticated products. Yeah, fine. Then we talk about pilots.
Right. There is a trend in the sector at the moment whereby more and more utilities are creating their own products internally and commercializing those. What are your thoughts on the opportunities and challenges of that trend?
Yeah, maybe Madana, I answered this question in relation to the previous question you raised on people and training, and if I can put them all together.
Absolutely, yes.
As a strategic grid investment. Because in my views, prioritizing investment in people and developing future-ready energy talent, it's something that we should all keep in mind as leaders in the electricity sector. And note that no transformation is possible without the right people. We are also facing this challenge of hiring new students, new experts to keep the substations maintenance and overhead electrical lines and cables in the good shape as they were built over 60 or 70 years ago. And we've launched at Transelectrica an internal program to better skill our engineers and upskill young professionals. Through initiatives such as scholarships, a testing laboratory, and last but not least, an innovation hub located with the Polytechnica University of Bucharest. As I said before, links to universities are very, very important. So partnerships with universities and with other companies are building a new generation of energy leaders. And we are encouraging this development of new talents, new knowledgeable young people who understand systems thinking and policy complexity. For example, you know the SIGRE platform. It's is the biggest conference for high voltage electricity grid in the world. And now they have a section addressing young people projects and trainings. Investing in people is not only human resource. It's to conclude, it's a strategic grid investment. And I think without people, the grid will not be in secure hands. And we need to keep an eye on this permanently to ensure that leadership it's delivering what we expect.
Great, yes. So we're at a point of not just grid transformation, but really workforce transformation to underpin all of that.
Can I add something to
Sure.
what you said at the beginning? The trend to more insourcing of product development.
Yes.
That is an interesting point, and I was wondering whether this is really an option or a chance for small or mid-size companies. Definitely, it works for the TSOs. There, I have no doubt. They are big enough. The big utilities, they also can do this. But remember the people who came from Switzerland, for example. In Switzerland, they have 600 something or 800 something DSOs. So for a little DSO, it's definitely not an option to in-source product development. They need to find other ways. So in other ways, it could mean to work in networks, to cooperate across the DSO landscape. And then also to build up regional or local cooperations with universities and educational institutes. That's also the way for Stadtwerke, so the little company or mid-sized companies where I'm working for. When I would try to in-source product development in, let's say, smart meter service or smart metering services. This is not an option. I have 100 people in total, so I cannot afford this. So I need to find partners. I need to establish networks, and that is also, a new way of working for the managers in this sector.
I would say, just to provide a short feedback to you, Torsten. I'm aware of this challenge by small DSOs, and as you know very well, I think you are active in some of the European associations, like maybe Eurelectric or EU DSOs or GEODE, which are reflecting the needs and the objectives of the small DSOs as well. I would say the answer here, in my views, it's cooperation and cooperation in the framework of these international associations, European associations, with a strong voice in Brussels. And when I say strong voice, I refer to policy, because in the end, a Brussels-seated association has the strategic role to influence the legislation, to talk with European Commission, European institutions, European Parliament, and so on, and to bring the message of utilities. I also include small utilities, municipalities, for example, distribution municipalities, addressing both electricity and sometimes gas and water and metering as well, to be recognized and well represented while defining the new legislation or when updating the existing legislation in place. So cooperation, in my views, it's the keyword, because the resources for investing in new products and new solutions at the level of a small municipality, and I know it happens that I work in the past with leaders of entities like yours, not in Frankfurt, but in Munich, Stadtwerke. So one of their priorities was to be strongly connected to European representative associations.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your insights, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. And I'm looking forward to having you back at SGT 26 in Paris next March, where we will continue the discussion and build on it. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Same to you.
Join us again next week as we unpack another big topic shaping the future of the power grid. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and catch us on LinkedIn. Until then, thanks for listening.
This is Powering the Future, a podcast series brought to you by Smart Grid Forums. One planet, one power grid.